All right, welcome to lesson 75, H Radio 223 part-timers. Let's add it there just to make it official. Right, and we are continuing with our conversation and our learning through airtime, live reads, and writing copy in this particular lesson. I'm going to do it in two parts because, as you can see, it's quite a lengthy lesson, and we'll leave it at that for this week. It is part three of six from Cullinan and Nash's Next Level Radio. You can go find the reference in the textbook 9.3 live reads page 331 to 333, and then go follow this as well. There's a link here from the RAB guide to writing great radio copy. Okay. Right. What is copy? As we said before, it is basically the script of what we write for live reads, for promotions, anything that we want also recorded and obviously edited and aired, as an advert or whatever it may be on air. Right. So in the previous lesson, we did have the three C's that we chatted about, and that is going to lead us further into. There's a particular 10 steps that we are looking at. At the end of this, you will have to write your own copy. What I do obviously recommend, and I'll just remind you at the end of the lesson, is that you do work to make sure that the copy is written for a 30-second spot. So as I say there, in its entirety, I actually try and find. I think I still have this one particular example that I constantly use because it's one of the best downloads that I actually received, just so that voiceover actors can practice. I also practice with that just before I go and do voiceovers. Just to get my delivery and also understanding of remember okay, obviously I've done this for a long time, so I'm not going to say remember the time. Michael Jackson hashtag. Right. I'm saying that you will see that within a live read or like I say, a script that you'll do as a voiceover artist, there'll be a breakdown of like effects or what type of energy or delivery they would want from the voiceover artist, and then it'll give you the actual script there that you will the copy that you will read out and obviously deliver. And before we get into the semantics, I don't want to get into that too much of being a voiceover artist. But we'll leave that for another discussion. Okay. All right. So the RAB guide to writing great radio copy, developing great creative radio campaigns or a campaign is crucial to getting results for your clients. But the bigger question is, how do you do it? Right. Okay. So again, with everything, as I said, there's a methodology and steps, and again, it's this is a social science or a craft science. So we must obviously apply ourselves with knowledge that we know, and obviously knowledge that we share here in your learning. Let's get into the steps and not waste any time. Step one is find out what the client wants. So before I get into these steps here, the relationship that you build with the clients is delicate, right? Remember, they are the ones that are paying the money, so they are going to be demanding as they should be. Some clients, as you would know and as you would expect, are going to be more difficult than other clients, and they are going to make quite like I'm going to say unremarkable indeed, yes, okay, and kind of like irrational demands to you. The best way to so I've seen copy departments and sales departments kind of bend to their will in a way that has obviously affected the brand. I say like in a bad way. Again, like I'm going to use this one example because it is the worst. As a like activation slash campaign that was aired on the stations that I worked on, or it was obviously at Prime Media, and it was with Mug and Bean, right? And if you've heard the story before, you can't stop me. This is pre-recorded, so anyway, just listen to it again. So the Mug and Bean wanted to to give away like $1,000, right? Okay, for or for two people that were struggling with something or other, right? So it's that almost like kind of like Jacaranda's kind of angel thing, whatever it is. I think it's Good Morning Angels, right? But on a much smaller scale. And it was only for about like it was no, it wasn't only, it was about 2 or 3 weeks, right? That it carried on, so we can actually consider that a legit activation, right? And it was featured on the brunch show. Okay. So what would happen is that both the sales department and Mug and Bean did not think this through because they were actually promoting their really like these new range of really big muffins that we obviously are familiar with. And they had some tie-in campaign with that, like kind of like share the joy and we'll share the darkness in your life, we'll light it up. That's what this big muffin does, or whatever it is. But we'll do it on radio, and then we'll give you $1,000, 1,000 rand, right? So it sounds like anyone would take $1,000, please, like for free. Oh, for free, the best price. But the thing is that callers would call in with really, and the thing is you would have to like this is again one of those things about the Christmas wish list and all that type of stuff that are very difficult to do. But this was very distasteful. Get to the point, Chris. Let me get to the point. So I'll give you an example, right, of one that actually did happen. And then the thing is that the DJ was seen and perceived by the listeners as being very, very, very shallow. So or you would go and you would pre-enter, right? Okay, so you would go and you send your story, whatever it is, to the text lines, whatever it may be, or email, whatever, and then the sales department would then pick who is the winner, and they would send you the number, right? So this particular one, there was a woman who was in stage 4 cancer, right? Um, and she had obviously come with her story, and the thing is that like that's fine, it's cool, it's an emotional story on air and stuff. How does the DJ react? Genuinely, how does the DJ react to that, but with 1,000 rand? I'm sorry that you're a terminal cancer, but I'm going to give you 1,000 rand. There's no way to actually make that, like build it or execute that in an angle that makes you look tasteful as a product brand DJ, whatever it may be, right? And this is an example. I'm giving you an example. Like people cringe. Oof, man, I still cringe to it, man. It was terrible. It was terrible. Immediately, also, it's one of those things where the DJs do recognize that there's a mistake here and that it needs to be changed. Where you would go and say this is not working, and most of the time, the sales department and PR department would go and change the activation or the actual, you know, the activation, right? They would change it, they change the mechanics, and it would actually work better. But in this case, Mug and Bean particularly would not move, right? So the thing is, day in and day out, this is enough time to really put a bad taste in your mouth about a DJ, okay? And Mug and Bean, sidebar, right? Okay, is that they would have these devastating stories of people that couldn't afford to go to school, and again, people in hospital, and people that have that couldn't pay the rent for their house, or like whatever it may have been, right? And the 1,000 rand, man, was not even a compensation, right? It was an insult, right? Anyway, so you must be able to, when you do approach your client, you have to be manipulative in a way that you got to take the ideas, say, give me all your ideas, I want it all, and you have to reconstruct them, right? Reconstruct them to obviously work on radio and offer that back to the client and say this was your great idea, right? Something that is manipulative but in a good way, and you are able to do it each and every actual time. So the salesperson really has to actually be invested in the fact that we are both looking after our client but also obviously looking after our product and brand, right? So many stations and agencies make the mistake of not listening to what the client actually wants and hopes to achieve with their campaign, right? This is bad because the thing is that if you do not deliver, because you only bill the client after the campaign is actually done or the advert has aired or whatever it may be, right? So that we can actually go and have a little bit of a post-mortem analysis on what actually aired properly, and we'll deduct that obviously from the initial cost that we quoted for them or they agreed on and they signed the contract to, whatever it may be, right? But you can lose, like you can waste a lot of airtime and not make a lot of money, right? If you just do not listen to that client because they can obviously abstain from paying very legitimately, right? Without understanding the real reasons behind why a potential client wants to go on air. The commercial campaign, no matter how humorous or clever, is doomed, right? Because You promise return on investment. I'm not going to go back into the whole analysis of return on investment, both on how we can get obviously clicks and calls to action or whatever it is. We promise them a very like a realistic small percentage, like a 7.5% return on investment on what it is that you are estimating from a larger, obviously, like a larger number, not a return on investment from what you are. Like we're not going to give you back 7.5% of what you paid. We're going to give you 7.5% more of what you have paid, right? Which is always, I mean, that's always great. Any business that comes in for a client, whatever it is, um, normally in project management, we look at let's the 7.5, that's why I'm using it, to about let's say 10 to 12.5, but that is normally estimated over 3 to 6 months, maybe even a year sometimes, right? Depending again on what we're busy constructing, and what the project is aimed to do. But again, this is on a much smaller scale. The client is going to expect almost immediate, which is fair, especially with the digital age, that we want to be able to see that definitely all the digital campaigns that we do put out there are definitely stuff that we can actually see click, 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 impression, cool, but engagement, registration, subscriptions, views, whatever it may be, right? So it can turn into cash. Right, step two, ask the right questions. Right, the clients need analysis. You have got to sit there and really interview them, but fully, and keep interviewing them. Like as you are developing the campaign or whatever it may be, continue to communicate and allow that channel to be wide open, so that everything that you do is then justified and obviously validated in terms of like, well, we did have a discussion about this. You did agree to it. This is what you wanted. What would you like to change? You understand? So the fault does not lie with you. Is there anything you would like to feature? So maybe your clients just got in a huge load of widgets and they need to sell them really fast. Okay, so like a take a lot or whatever it may be, anything that's kind of online, hyper corporation, whatever checkers doesn't know. Yeah, or maybe a certain item has a higher profit margin and it would make sense to push that particular product. So they got in, let's say, eggs for really cheap, right? Okay. And now they want to sell it at maybe 3 or 4 times like its market value, right? Uh, so we want to push that. People will buy it because man, we need eggs right now, right? And we will buy it. And so maybe we want to just push the fact that listen, there's going to be whatever, like 10,000 eggs, brought into these particular stores, and you can go buy them immediately, right? Get your eggs today. All right. So, who is your best prospects? The question will allow you to get into demographics, right? So, the type of listener that needs something, right? So, obviously, our demographics are predetermined by obviously our target market. We want to find these people within our target market who are going to go and buy this particular product because of the needs, the wants, the placements of them, their current, I don't know, situation, whatever it may be, right? So, we did discuss it before about like plumbing, electricity, whatever, car services, whatever. Okay, is it male or female or both? What percentage? Average age, income, professional, in education levels. If you represent more than one station, then these questions can help steer your client to the right position on the dial, right? In other words, so for example, like we look at the Kakiso group, we look at the Pramida group and the SABC group, and we look at them and say, okay, look, like there will be what am I going to say? Like it's one sales. We have definitely sales team per station, but we do have overall departments that's for like control, right? The obviously the revenue and again kind of this traffic that's coming in and out, and they will obviously allocate directly to those then departmental station departmental sales and PR teams, right? Okay, so that's I think quite clear, right? Okay, remember step one, right? Like really find out what the client actually wants. Step two, ask the right questions. Okay, all right, okay, all right. Step three. Oh, why does it not? No, let's just go. We oh no, we continue with step two. Excuse me. Hence 31 slides. All right. Number three, so why do customers come to you is a really good question, right? What do they need? When do they need it? Is it seasonal? Is it situational? Very important, right? So this question and others below that are similar that you'll see there now allow the client to tell their story. The more you know and you understand like the mission statement, the vision statement, the culture, again, the purpose of the products, what type of situations you can actually visualize these products being relevant and useful, whatever it is, like you will embody like the ethos of that product, and then you're going to be like, cool, like let me, I got a great number of ideas that I can pitch to you like almost immediately, right? Keep in mind that perception is reality, and you should consider getting different viewpoints from coworkers, family, and friends. A very good point. What is your single greatest competitive advantage? So what makes your product better than, let's say, your competitors' similar products? Again, let's say, look at toilet paper, right? Something that everyone needs. Not that you won't. I don't know. I'm not going to hear an advert for just toilet paper. They might be featured like as a sales point, like hot sales for the day at Pick and Pay or whatever it may be, right? But also people are very kind of finicky, or not really, um, about the two ply. Some people even go to three ply, which is insane. And again, they also have product loyalty. So, for example, Kleenex. I don't know if Kleenex does Kleenex do toilet paper. I mean, I know they do tissues, um, but then we have the obviously the I said the lower quality peak brands. That obviously did the one plies, but the one ply can be like obviously wiping your bum with toilet like actual newspaper, which is terrible. And then like let's say one that's kind of quality. So you'll see uh, saying from each one of these, comparatively, like which one would be better. It's just going to be at this price. It's definitely affordable, but definitely good quality. We've got great rep for it. And obviously there's proof inputting, right? So do you have a positioning statement? Okay, so what makes so again that kind of mission vision statement saying like this is where we are at within our market. Okay, what do you feel is your unique selling position? So the unique selling position or the USP or point is a marketing concept that allows a company to differentiate themselves from their competition. So as you said, there kind of repeat statements here in a way, but definitely still will allow us to, understand the client's needs about asking all of these questions. Very important. Okay, still with the right questions. Number seven, what is your primary business image? Okay, so what image do we represent? Again, I told you about that ethos, right? So when they think of this product, what do they think of holistically? What's the biggest misperception you feel people have about your business? Okay, so like for example, like MTN is not helpful, just in general. Like a lot of people have said that. A lot of people, unfortunately, have created that perception around MTN. They've just made far too many mistakes, and they have been not helpful. The people that actually, a few people, not saying all people, but a few of enough people that work at MTN shops or whatever it is, retailers like don't actually give the right advice, and so it frustrates people. You understand? And so like they now need to go and fix this problem. You'll note that again, one of the surprising ones for this year, 2023. Was the KFC one where they said like if you do not like the chicken, like if it's not good quality, like you can come back, we'll give you like a replacement for free, right? Obviously, because I paid for it, right? The thing is that because KFC in general was receiving complaints of their poor quality of the way that they were actually cooking their chicken, it was like kind of stale-ish and kind of like distasteful. I'm obviously a like KFC lover, or a fried chicken lover, like all I'm loving all fried chicken. But the thing is, like, obviously KFC is like the most prominent one around, so it's quite easy to just go and find one, buy something, and it's chicken. It tastes great, but when it doesn't taste great, you're like, why? Like, why did I buy this streetwise chew with an extra piece? Now I must go through three rubbish pieces. It's that distasteful. There's not that crunch. There's not that oil that you want. That the Colonel's secret sauce or whatever recipe, right? That they promised you. This was happening too much, too often. And the thing is that KFC got this bad rap nationally. Damn, like it was people saying, I'd rather go to Steers, I'd rather go like to, I don't know, like what is the other one? Nando's, whatever it may be. I don't eat out a lot. But I'd rather do that, not waste my money, and rather pay a little bit more to actually, if I want something, I'm not going to go because they're not doing anything about it. So they did this entire campaign. People were thrilled. No, like obviously the thing is that KFC was not prepared to have things replaced. So what they were doing is actually producing better quality food, and because people love KFC, they continue to go by there, much happier, no returns, or quote unquote. I don't really know their statistics, but I'm guessing absolutely no returns. The campaign actually ended quite quickly, right? Because I'm guessing there wasn't real much of a need anymore to do that. They obviously built that trust again with their loyal, obviously customers, and like blew up, completely dissipated that misperception or that perception, right, of them. Okay. So look at that. Like for example, perhaps customers think a popular brand will automatically be too expensive. Things like an iPhone, right, and things from Apple are expensive, right? And so people are buying that for they're buying it for brand identity. I'm sorry, that's really it. And let's not start that conversation why Apple is better than Android or whatever it may be. Android's better, you know. Perhaps the potential customers feel that the location is too far away, when in reality it's only 10 or 15 minutes drive. So, currently working with Burger King, and we're actually having a big chat again about this whole thing. About perception. Burger King seems to be. I said to them, but your product it looks more expensive. Like that's what I like. KFC, for example, or that sell obviously burgers or whatever it may be, or McDonald's, obviously we know sells burgers, not the best burgers, but yeah, whatever, they make a lot of money. Like people are locked into McDonald's, right? McDonald's is the biggest competitor, right? They started out cheap, and the thing is that continually moving on with even their increase in prices, people still think that they are cheaper. And Burger King was like, no, we actually are. We are the same. Like we're actually the same for better quality, quote unquote, right? According to Burger King, they would say that, right? And it would be up to the customer to decide. But here's the point: is like they had to break that conception of being like we are too expensive. And I was chatting to them about like how are you going to like definitely bring about the cheapest quote unquote items to the forefront. That would be a better marketing strategy to start getting people to Burger King to also be looking at the other menu items, being like, oh, okay, like I they would immediately then compare it to a McDonald's thing. And they would be like, oh, okay, this is genuinely not bad. I'll definitely obviously try first of all the cheapest one that's on promotion or whatever it may be. If I like the product, I'm gonna come back and I'll start wiggling my way back and forth between McDonald's and so on. So step three, let's change the next step. Help position your client. So most clients on local radio stations expect a measurable response from their investment on your station. Why? Because like we're working locally, right? It's also with community radio stations. You should actually have a larger return on investment for a lot less money that you are actually paying. Because people in South Africa are loyal to their community stations. When you look at, let's say, the three choices of radio stations that you have on your quote unquote radio dial, right? If you're listening to radio, it'll be a 10 to 1 a commercial station, right? 10 to 1 a PBS station, and then 10 to 1 a community station that you have grown up with, or it's in your obviously vicinity, whatever it is, your feeder area. Um, and that's how most South Africans work, right? So we have a lot of loyalty to local radio stations, right? But whether it's an increase in phone calls, more traffic on their like to their store, or simply more hits on their website, advertisers want something to happen immediately, right? Okay. Again, kind of like that revenue, again, that return on investment where you see money, 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 right? That takes you must be someone that tells them obviously because they understand business. They are running businesses, right? They be realistic and say that return on investment will take like a 3 month period, right? To really show like you've got that 7.5 up and up and up. And that's what we are doing right here. First, let's start with subscribers. First, let's start with feet in your store, and then you're going to see it's going to from 2.5, 3.5, to 7.5, 10.5, whatever it may be, right? For you to obviously know what return on investment they're going to get, you will obviously have to know like information from their side, previous campaigns that they've actually run, and what they are expecting. Also, what do you want? Like, what do you want out of this? Right? Let us deliver on like promises that we can actually keep. Now that you have already done your client needs analysis, use that information to effectively help your clients separate themselves from the competition with proper positioning right now. Okay. So if everyone is looking for a new car right now, how are we going to make Hyundai or Mercedes stand out right now with this with a new, I don't know, like whatever release or whatever it may be, new model? Know the competition. So who truly competes for your clients' businesses? There may be three women's shoe stores in town, but if each is targeting at a different group of customers, teens, discount, and upscale, then expect for some minor overlapping that they can be said to be non-competitive. So do just note, like again, I was talking about the toilet paper. This makes it very clear. It's what different people can actually afford or want, right? Need or want, and also can afford. Right. So, one of step three. Okay. If there are three athletic shoe stores and each carries the same brands of shoes, so let's say Nike, whatever, bringing in Converse, who knows? But Nike, obviously, the biggest one. Then all three compete directly with one another. Excuse me. Write down each competitor and a list of their perceived strengths or selling points, such as. So, for example, if we go to, I think it's what is it like Shoe City or whatever it is, we can obviously go to Total Sports, I don't know, and we can go like directly. I'm sure there are Nike, obviously, the I think it's the warehouse, the warehouse outlets where you can go and buy them directly, go and see some of those things. I don't know, right? Okay. Write down each competitor and list their perceived strengths or selling points, such as discounts that they're having, competitive prices, right? Their excellent service. So go look at like how their customer service actually works, like what's their return policies, like whatever it is. How do they help you find shoes that you want? Do they help you, let's say, if something is out of stock or if something is brand new, like can you book before? What is their delivery date? That type of stuff. Superior quality, variety of goods, right? Choice is always great, right? Convenient locations, and definitely those hours. Okay, so obviously, again, having your online store is very important as well. A lot of stores can't afford that, and they can because they're paying so much money as it is being in a center. But might be, obviously will be on social media, and so maybe we can use kind of like paid advertising to kind of push that as well. Know thyself. So apply the same criteria when evaluating the perceived position and strengths of your clients as you did just now for your competitors, right? So remember that it may be difficult to get an accurate description of the perceived position of your client from your client because they want to probably leave certain information out. Not, I don't see a reason why, but obviously business information and knowledge is private sometimes, right? And I can see the context in that being validated or real. But yeah, I mean, like let's just make sure that we do understand where our client is at. Okay, again, ask those questions. Eh? All right. So what's number three? Define the differences. So most successful products or stores have established a very definite, easy explained, and easily recognized position in the marketplace. So again, the biggest thing is to look at, let's say, clothing stores. We have so many of them, but you would associate a certain kind of feel with, let's say, Edgar's versus Cotton On versus H&M, H&M versus Jet or Ackermans. You understand? Like we already have these images of what's in the shop. We know exactly what type of clothes they're going to have there. We know exactly what type of styles we can go and find there. If it's kid stuff, if it's adult stuff only, if it's predominantly again kind of like the almost high fashion, a great affordability type thing, which is almost, I suppose, what cotton on is sometimes described at, I suppose. Again, a perception is a massive thing, yeah, right. So being able to build that perception, because again, it was just my perception now of what I've seen and experienced in those stores. By writing down crucial differences between competitors, you can arrive at a focal point for a commercial. So after all, sometimes it's the little differences that can make a person choose one store or product over another. Most of the time, it's prices and products, obviously, right? We also we will deal with bad service, right, to a certain extent if we are saving money and we're also getting the product that we actually want, right? So yeah, which is why people go thrift shopping, or they'll go to the flea markets, or they'll go to, like I say, those warehouse stores or whatever it may be. Where like, and also, and going to Edgar's, I've been an Edgar's client since I was, I don't know, old enough to get an account. Man, like there's never anyone on the floor. Never, ever anyone. You got to walk through the whole store, man. You're like, to find someone to help. It's terrible, man. Anyway, the only reason why I spend this is because I have an account to buy on credit. It's fine. Sidebar. But the thing is that if I had to think of Mr. Price, for example, right, I'd be like, cool. Mr. Price, I'd have to pay cash. I don't want another account. Let me log into my life story and my biopic. But like, I'd be like, I'd rather actually spend at Pick and Pay Clothing or Mr. Price, get something that I know I want. It's very easy to find. The store is very easily, I'm saying, it's easy to navigate. I was going to say navigatable. And that sounds correct. Yeah. Uh, uh, but but I would rather go to those stores and be like, I'd rather get jeans or like a belt. Definitely belts are super expensive. Shoes, like work shoes, much cheaper at those stores. And obviously, I like obviously branded, like the comic shirts and stuff like that. You can find at Pick and Pay Clothing much easier than you would find at Edgar's, which is super expensive. Anyway, okay, so like again, so what I'm carrying on about my life story is that those perceptions that I've already got, and I know that them to be true because I've gone into those stores, I've gone to go find what I want, but also a lot of the times people have said to me, "Go check out, like this is what I found, or this is what I bought." Social media will see that as well. Okay, so you'll follow that up to save a penny, a buck, or to get what you want. All right, step four, getting it all together. So there are several style categories of commercials. Get creative by varying the elements and determining what works best for the advertisers. This is straightforward, like being straightforward. Sometimes the simplest approach works the best. Most of the time, the simplest approach works the best in radio. Imagine one effective voice delivering well-written narrative, so good script, good copy, and a good message there. It's direct approach works particularly well when a positive image has previously been established and a specific event is being promoted, like a sale. So in these cases, you can simply expand on or enhance the positive feelings that are already in place. You're going to get this for this and this and this much done, finished. So music, use it. You really have to, like, I would, like, music in jingles is cool. Like that makes sense. So if there's obviously, like, each brand will have their own jingle sometimes, right? That makes sense for me. Sometimes you want to build a mood. Maybe you want to sell, you want to kind of do a holiday, like holiday spots and advertising for that. You would need some kind of like cool, relaxing holiday music. Put that in there. Have like a bit of a feel of a road trip. I don't know, right? Okay. The use of music, be very careful. You can't use famous, obviously, like music. It has to be stock, like stock music. So stuff that is user that's obviously provided by for the station, right? They obviously go in their buy packages as well to get higher quality choice of big database of it as well. But music must not be something that is owned by someone else, otherwise we're gonna have to pay um royalties, etc. And also like that, you won't even get to that. People are just gonna like they're gonna come for you, right? Um, all right, unless you have an agreement with a certain artist as well, especially if it's a local artist, quite easy to get then as well for them to be kind of like the voice for that particular product. Anyway, but the use of music in commercials can be powerful since music obviously evokes a certain emotion, right? You get a sad feeling, a comfortable feeling, a rainy feeling, a joyous celebration, a birthday feeling, whatever it is, right? Music can also be used to tie together in mixed media campaign, TV or internet, while aiding in recall. Right. Okay. So music can also mean jingles, and when obviously done right, jingles can cut through the clutter and stick in the mind for years. Right. Definitely. Definitely. You remember many jingles from your youth. You know it. I know it. I remember one. Okay. Step four, continuing, getting it all together. Please remember that the copyrighted music that plays on your station may not be used for a recorded commercial for that client unless they pay the publisher for the rights to use that music. Done. Yeah. So there's an example, obviously, of Van Halen's Jump, etc. All right, a slice of life. The slice of life approach allows the audience to relate personally to the commercial elements, right? So overhearing bits of real life conversation, right? So between lovers and spouses, parents, neighbors, brothers, sister, workers, uh, students, whatever it may be, makes the potential customer understand, like it locks them into that situation as well. It's very familiar for them. They know what this type of conversation looks like because they've had it before, they're currently having it, or they definitely know what's trying the message that we're going to try and convey here through this kind of role playing or whatever it may be. Okay, and character voices that we include there. So, albeit silent participation instead of just passive listening, it can make potential customers an active instead of the latter. Okay, an active participant. Right. If the actors in the spot strike responsive chord, the listener is much more apt to be open to the client's offering. So good actors, good voice actors that know how to work characters, not kind of if it is meant to be cheesy, which a lot of kind of role playing voiceovers come off as, oh hi Jane, like how you doing, or what is that in your bag? That's that type of again that also has to it's also on direction because I mean it can't be actually allowed or kind of say approved without that coming from the sound engineer and also the director and the copyright and stuff like that. So sidebar, just sidebar. When you do hear a bad ad, that's not the voiceover artist's fault. That's actually the production part. Anyway, but yeah, it's that role playing thing. I think you understand. The major drawback in writing and production slice of life spots is that they must be done extremely well to be effective. So the corniness really makes us roll our eyes and be like, please not this ad again. Oh, please not that again. Unless it's funny, right? Okay. So funny and quick and comical makes a point. We get obviously to the narrative part. So really we've got to choose the right talent for it and we go to voice banks and stuff like that, and obviously agents to find that. Humor engages the listener, creates emotional responses, and definitely has them remembering. So if they laugh at that advert, like being funny isn't always something that you hear in adverts. It's not necessary, right? Okay, because we know that it's better just to get the message across. But if you can make them laugh or whatever it is, a lot of the Nando's ads have made us laugh many times. Okay, more in the digital space than I would say, particularly in the radio space and definitely in the TV space. We've seen that to be funnier, right? And we remember those products. We'll always remember like very iconic adverts. Okay. Right. Also, what's funny to you may not be funny to them. So again, an understanding of a professional sense of humor, professional comedic timing, and what the concept of comedy is something that you actually have to have as a copywriter, right? And obviously, a sales like a sales conceptualizer, a sales executive conceptualization, that type of thing that's in charge of that. All right. Testimonials are great, so but real ones, like we hear too many testimonials of we know this person is fake. We know it for sure, like they are just getting voiceover artists just to say stuff, and which makes you roll your eyes and you stop listening because it's fake, right? So actual testimonials of people that have not been set up as actors or whatever it is will work, all right, but must be used super carefully. Okay. All right, always remember that testimonial from a personality on your station is a premium spot and should always cost extra to the client. So, being a brand ambassador, quote unquote, the loss of it now coming of an influencer. Let's look at one more step. Let's look at five so we get halfway. All right, and then we'll stop the recording of this half here. So overcoming writer's block, it's every writer's nightmare and every deadline. Think of this, you're doing this as a job every single day, like and you're in a creative space, you'll get that burnout very quickly, right? It's a big obstacle. So, but there are several techniques that you can employ to cover or sort of overcome this looming monster. So, in fact, one of the first things that you can do is go back to step one, do some homework, refresh your ideas, refresh your perspective, and your angles, whatever it is. You can definitely also Google stuff, like just Google to that. That's the best way to get a respectable brain fart, right? So the Google stuff, watch other things, like just watch things about like the not the product, but are people using a type of product of this or things like that, right? To get your mind to go, oh wait, this is a great spark for me to jump on in a different direction. The commercials, right? Okay, I could possibly write itself once you're done. However, for those times when you can't get out of the starting gate, so again, Jeffrey Hedquist from Hedquist Productions offers these tips and tricks. Okay, you will look at some, right? Sound effects, randomly choose sound effects from the production library and give yourself 2 minutes to write a commercial for your client using those effects, even if it doesn't seem appropriate. It's fine. You're trying to get out of that slump. Try another and do it again. You can limber up, right, your imagination and make connections between ideas that might not seem related at first. Brainstorming is super important to our industry, our craft, and your craft as a media practitioner, right? So don't bad ideas, good ideas, just get ideas going. If you don't have commercial gold at this point, purposely choose a sound effect that would not normally be associated with the advertiser. So you get that I know what the extreme is. I know what I don't want sometimes. Maybe and now I know exactly what I do want from not knowing what I don't want. For example, if a client sells office products, don't go with keyboards clicking or copying machines humming. Try something different like fire engines or a baby crying or whatever it is to spark your imagination, right? Like, so baby crying, immediately I'd be like, that's the nanny's job. But I can enjoy my vacation time, I don't know, while I'm at the office. And these office products make the experience at work just like heaven, whatever it may be, right? In comparison to, and you play the baby crying again. Right. So quite an easy thing to actually just conceptualize. Um, listening to some sound effects. Again, just let your creative juices flow. Then working with a 2 minute deadline, force yourself to come up with stuff really quickly. The more you sit and you think about stuff, the longer it takes, the more exhausted it takes, the more you get lost in your own thought process, creative thought process, and you kind of just go in circles. Okay. All right. Once again, your mind will stretch to connect those two dis, uh, disparate, disparate um, parts of. I do not know that word. I'm not going to be someone that fakes it. All right. But the point is that, like, making a connection between two things that are very different. Okay. Parts of the equation. I think it just separate the two separate parts. A better word for that. Anyway. Okay. All right. For the equation and start stringing words and ideas together to bridge that gap. So if you work at it, a commercial will emerge usually built around an analogy or a metaphor, right? So an analogy, we're trying to give an example of what's going on. Like, so this and this happened and this happened. Or this and this could happen, right? Or imagine yourself doing this and this and this. An analogy, right? Metaphor, quite easy to understand. So something that represents something else. Okay, we use something to explain the concept of something, uh, a metaphor, guys. Come on. Right. Okay. So I don't know. My life is like a I don't know, raging ocean. I'm guessing that's a metaphor. Right. Okay. Yeah, it is a metaphor. You don't do other English. Anyway, for example, the sound of baby crying can represent the way we all turn into out of control babies when the office equipment doesn't work and we can't fix it. Or the fire engine could be an example of what it's like when emergencies arise in the office. Good. So, sound effects can definitely quickly communicate some kind of feeling and idea that is easily translated to a narrative. Okay, all right. So let's get into point number two. Silence is golden. Don't overlook the power of silence and quieter sounds. Silence can grab attention. It's for great dramatic effect. It serves as a powerful contrast to bombastic sound effects, and it can also be used to highlight a solution or relieve tension. Good. I am going to stop it there for part one, and then I'll continue right here at step 6 for part two.